There comes a moment in every man's life when he realizes the truth. The woman he gave his heart to may walk away as if nothing ever mattered. She won't stumble, she won't tremble, she won't even let her voice crack. She'll leave with a straight face, maybe even a laugh, maybe even with that air of superiority that makes it seem like she's already won. In that instant, it feels like she has all the control, as if her absence is the punishment and his silence is the proof of defeat. But the truth about women who walk away is far more complex than the mask they wear. For her, leaving feels like power. She'll look at her reflection and see freedom staring back. She'll tell herself she escaped something that wasn't enough, a love that fell short, a man who didn't measure up to the fantasy in her head. She'll breathe deeply as though chains were cut, as though she was liberated. In those early days, the adrenaline of independence intoxicates her. The world suddenly looks brighter, louder, more alive, and she convinces herself that she's stepping into a bigger future without him. And maybe she even believes it. But freedom without foundation is nothing but illusion. What she doesn't realize in that moment of departure is that victory at the cost of loyalty always turns hollow. The silence she left behind won't just disappear, it will follow her, quietly, invisibly, waiting for its chance to surface. She thinks she's walking toward a better life, but in reality, she's walking away from the one thing she'll never truly replace. And though the pain doesn't touch her yet, though she feels untouchable now, it is only a matter of time before the truth catches up. In the weeks that follow her departure, she begins to build a story inside her mind, one where she is the heroine who finally chose herself. She dresses up more often, goes out with her friends, laughs louder than before, and carries herself as if the weight of the world has finally been lifted from her shoulders. To those around her, it looks like she's glowing, like she has finally escaped something that held her back. She'll post pictures of herself smiling, surrounded by people, doing things that give off the illusion of joy and freedom. She'll scroll through the comments and likes, soaking up the validation that reassures her she made the right decision. Every text from a friend saying, "you look so happy." Becomes fuel for the narrative she's desperate to believe. But illusions are fragile things, and deep down, she feels the cracks forming even if she won't admit it. Because no matter how many nights she spends surrounded by noise, the silence when she returns home is deafening. In that quiet, she remembers the steadiness of your presence, the way you listened when the world was too loud, the calmness you brought to her storms. At first, she fights those memories, shoving them aside with new distractions, new faces, even new men who try to impress her with charm or confidence. Yet something always feels off. None of them mirror the depth she once had with you. None of them feel like home. Still, she refuses to face it. She convinces herself she's doing better, that she's thriving, that leaving was the right choice. But illusions, no matter how carefully maintained, eventually collapse. And with every attempt to prove she's free, she unknowingly tightens the chain of regret that is waiting for her. What she doesn't understand at first is how deeply your presence has carved itself into her world. She mistakes your steadiness for something ordinary, as if the way you carried yourself, the way you made her feel safe, the way you looked at her as though she was more than enough were things any man could provide. She takes it for granted, assuming that once you're gone, the gap will be easily filled. But the reality she faces is far harsher. The silence you leave behind isn't just empty space, it is a reminder of a depth she cannot find again. At first, she tries to fill it quickly. She entertains conversations, lets others pursue her, even allows herself to believe that someone new might replace you. And yet, no matter how many laughs she forces, how many nights she spends in the company of someone else, there is always a comparison she cannot stop herself from making. The echo of you lingers in everything. A phrase someone says reminds her of your voice. A quiet moment reminds her of how you used to listen. A fleeting touch reminds her of how different your hands felt when they held hers. And the cruel truth is that nothing measures up. The men who follow lack something: patience, calm, stability, authenticity. They are too loud, too uncertain, too self-absorbed, or simply too shallow to give her the depth she once dismissed. It is then she realizes that you were not ordinary at all. You were rare. You were the standard. And now that you're gone, every attempt at replacement only magnifies your absence. She wanted freedom, but instead she is left haunted, living with echoes of a man she can no longer reach. The turning point always comes quietly, without warning. At first, she is so convinced of her power, so certain she was the one in control, that she doesn't notice the shift happening inside her. But as the weeks become months, the facade begins to crack. The truth is, many women walk away believing the man will always be there, waiting in the background, ready to answer the call the moment they feel the need to reach out. It's not arrogance alone, it's a mixture of pride and the way society has taught her that men will always return if the bond was real. So, she leaves carelessly, convinced of a safety net. But when she finally realizes that you are not coming back, when your silence becomes permanent instead of temporary, something inside her shatters. She replays the moment she walked away, the things she said, the way she dismissed you as though you would always orbit around her. And now the orbit is broken, and she is left floating without anchor. That realization cuts through her pride like a knife. For the first time, she understands she miscalculated, not only who you were but who she was with you. She wanted control, but in losing you she lost far more than she bargained for. The certainty that once fueled her confidence now turns into a hollow ache she cannot ignore. And in that ache, the first whispers of regret begin to grow. What was once a choice that felt empowering now reveals itself as a mistake that cannot be undone. Pride can cover the wound for a while, but when pride collapses, regret seeps in like water through cracked stone, slowly and relentlessly consuming her from within. Regret never arrives all at once, it seeps in quietly, creeping into the corners of her mind when she least expects it. At first, it's nothing more than a fleeting thought, a whisper in the back of her head that she quickly pushes away. But as the nights grow longer and the distractions fade, regret begins to take shape, heavier, sharper, and impossible to ignore. It shows itself when she lies awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wishing she could silence the memories that replay without her permission. It hits her when she scrolls through old photos, stumbling upon a smile that felt real, a moment that can never be recreated. The men who came after fail to comfort her in these moments, because none of them carry the same weight, none of them settle her spirit the way you once did. And though she tries to mask it with laughter, with nights out, with the illusion of moving forward, regret doesn't care for illusions. It strikes in silence, when no one is around to see her break. She will never tell her friends the truth, never admit that she envies the version of herself who once had you. But she feels it, deeply, when she climbs into an empty bed, when she looks at her reflection and sees not victory but loss. Regret becomes her constant companion, shadowing her every move, reminding her that she traded stability for uncertainty, peace for chaos, loyalty for pride. The longer time stretches on, the more that whisper turns into a roar. And though she might bury it during the day, in the stillness of night she cannot hide. She knows she let go of something irreplaceable, and the weight of that truth will only grow heavier with time. What makes her regret burn even deeper is not only losing you, but having to watch you rise without her. She expected silence from you, but not strength. She thought your absence meant weakness, that eventually you'd break in return, proving her power over you. But you didn't. Instead, you moved forward, quietly, steadily, building yourself into someone even greater than the man she once knew. She sees it in subtle ways at first, maybe through a mutual friend's story, maybe through glimpses of your growth on social platforms, or maybe just in the way your name no longer appears attached to longing, but to progress. And each reminder cuts her pride like glass. Because while she anticipated you would wait for her, she now realizes you never needed her to begin with. That realization haunts her more than anything. Every success you achieve becomes a mirror reflecting her mistake. When she sees you standing taller, calmer, more confident, she remembers the version of herself who thought she was above you. Now she understands she wasn't walking away from an ordinary man, she was walking away from a man who would one day become everything she secretly craved. Watching you grow becomes unbearable because it proves the harshest truth: she was replaceable in your life, but you are irreplaceable in hers. She'll smile when she sees your progress, maybe even pretend she's happy for you, but behind the mask her stomach knots with envy and shame. Because deep down, she knows the life you're building could have been hers too. And now, no matter how much she wishes it, she can never return to your side. You've proven she wasn't your ending, only your lesson. Regret does not stay frozen in time, it matures, it evolves, and it deepens as the years pass. When she is still young, she can distract herself from it with noise and movement. There are always parties to attend, friends to surround herself with, people to validate her choices, men to entertain her attention. She convinces herself that the ache she feels is temporary, that life will eventually align the way she once imagined. For a while, this performance works. She plays the part of the carefree woman, the one who left and never looked back. But time has a way of stripping illusions bare. The friends who cheered her on begin to drift into their own lives. The admirers fade, their interest as shallow as the connections she tried to build. Nights out lose their thrill, and the mornings after feel heavier with each passing year. The laughter becomes less convincing, the smiles more forced. And in the silence that remains, regret grows louder. What once seemed like a bold decision now reveals itself as foolishness. The stability she mocked becomes the very thing she longs for. The peace she dismissed becomes the treasure she cannot find. With every year that passes, her heart aches more for the life she could have shared with you, the steady love, the quiet safety, the strength you offered so naturally. The older she becomes, the more she realizes that what she once saw as ordinary was the foundation every woman eventually craves. Regret ages with her, settling deeper into her bones. What once was a whisper is now a constant echo, and she understands with painful clarity that she traded her future for pride. And pride cannot keep her warm at night. Regret is heavy, but shame is heavier, and with time, it joins her like a shadow she cannot escape. Regret tells her she lost you, but shame whispers something crueler, that she was the kind of woman who could lose a man like you. She begins to replay the past, not just the moment she left, but the countless smaller moments where she dismissed your efforts, overlooked your loyalty, or treated your steadiness as though it were weakness. In her youth, she saw your calmness as dull, your consistency as ordinary, your patience as something she could always come back to. Now, those very traits rise in her memory as rare, precious, and almost sacred. The shame grows sharper when she looks around at the women who held on to men like you. She sees how their lives have blossomed, families built on stability, homes filled with peace, futures secure with men they trusted. And she compares herself, realizing she chose the opposite path, chasing excitement, validation, and freedom that never filled the emptiness. Shame creeps in every time she remembers how she undervalued you, how she let pride blind her to what was real. It is no longer just about missing you, it is about disliking the version of herself who threw you away. She can no longer lie to herself. She cannot claim ignorance. She knows exactly what she did, and that knowledge burns. The shame shapes how she views her own worth, reshaping her identity in ways she cannot undo. She is haunted not only by your absence but by the truth that she became her own downfall. And though she may hide it behind a smile, she will never escape the mirror that reflects the mistake she made. As the years pass, she comes to face the most painful truth of all: time does not soften regret, it sharpens it. The life she imagined for herself when she walked away has not unfolded as she once believed it would. The excitement she chased has dulled, the attention she sought has vanished, and the freedom she thought would taste sweet has turned bitter on her tongue. Meanwhile, your life has grown without her. You did not crumble in her absence, you built, you rose, you thrived. She sees it, whether through whispers from old friends, distant glances online, or even the rare encounter where your presence fills a room without effort. And in those moments, she feels the weight of what she lost crash over her like a tide she cannot escape. She may smile when she sees you, her voice steady, her composure intact, but inside she is breaking. Because she knows the truth, you do not see her the same way anymore. The place she once held in your heart has been closed, sealed off by her own choices. The future that could have been hers now belongs to someone else, or perhaps to no one, because you learned to live without needing her. And that is the final cut, the one wound that will never heal. Her punishment is not your anger, nor your absence, it is her own memory. She will carry it until her last breath, the knowledge that she let go of something she can never reclaim. She may forgive others, she may even seek forgiveness from you, but she will never forgive herself. Because some choices cannot be undone, and hers will echo through her soul forever.